This bill mandates the display of the 10 Commandments in every classroom in public, elementary, secondary, and post-education schools in the state of Louisiana.
It says your rights come from your Creator, also known as God, and a country whose Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God, and a country where every coin in your pocket and every bill in your wallet says, "In God we trust." Somehow you're not supposed to talk about God. Does that make any sense? That's schizophrenia.
I saw this post and I had to somewhat repost it. And you can kind of tell what's going on here, right? Government can impose morality, and you can see the same people that are saying this, they're imposing their morality, right? And it's a form of morality. Now they can say, we're not imposing anything. Well, you kind of are from a different angle. But let's listen to their argument here before we bring a heavy hater. This is a heavy hitter, man. He's going to go hard and tough. And he's going to do it in a very loving and calm way. But you're going to get some solid truth. Ben Carson, we're going to bring him to the channel today. But one more video before we dive in. Again, this is Joy Reid. Where's the Joy Reid? Anyway, let's take a listen to this.
Yeah, and and it is ironic to me that these are the same people who will make the argument that a pride flag in a classroom is indoctrination, but they don't think the 10 Commandments is indoctrination. I see some irony there.
Yes, indeed. I was just on a conservative talk show where they made that exact argument, and there is no separation of flags in state. There is no separation of sexuality in state. There's a separation of church and state, and it protects religious freedom for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to break it to folks, but Moses was not a Christian. That religion did not exist. He was Jewish, and so it's the Torah that you want to be displaying if that's where you want to go with this. But that's not supposed to be in school either. You're supposed to learn to read. Rachel Laser, thank you very much, and good luck. Please keep us up to date. And come.
Yeah, but the problem is, I get the idea of what you're trying to say, but you have to understand. The way the left has been behaving is the reason why the right are pushing back against it. And they have some really good reasons for doing that. Do I think it should be mandated for school? They have to put it up. I don't think it should be mandated. I don't think you can enforce morality in that way. Yes, you can, when you're dealing with laws of the state. But I think when the school has to put up this law or else, there's something wrong with that. I don't like those mandates. I have an issue with mandates since Pestilence 19 pandemic. Every time I hear the word mandate, I'm like, mandate? Why are you mandating it? Anyway, but to say that having a 10 Commandment display in school is wrong, I don't think that's wrong either. And again, here's the ladies on the view are gonna, I did a reaction video to this, so there's no way I can digest too much of this, but at least you're gonna hear the leftist is losing their mind.
America, pray again.
He has broken 11 commandments, and 11. There's a wait list. I mean, this guy has gone above and beyond, and yet these Christians out, so-called Christians, are going to vote for him.
So-called Christians. Yeah. Here is Whoopi Goldberg.
Do you want your child to have a religious education? Send them to a religious school.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you. Get out of my pocket, get out of my body, and get out of my school.
She's cute. Here is the thing. We're going to listen to somebody with some common sense here who's going to tell it like it is. Oh, Donald Trump. Oh, he had a perspective about that, too.
Who likes the 10 Commandments, by the way, going up in the schools? They think it's such a bad thing. I said, has anyone read the "Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt"? I mean, has anybody read this incredible stuff? It's just incredible. They don't want it to go up.
Incredible and simple.
It's a crazy world, a crazy world.
It is. I think it's a little crazy. The reaction is too much. This is not to say I can't understand the argument that church and state ought to be separated, which I totally agree with. It makes sense. I'm not for, institution of religion by government. But at the same time, to say that you cannot have the 10 Commandments in school, in public school, when everything else is welcome, is like, really? Anyway, Ben Carson, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. This is such a momentous time in our country's history, thinking about it. But in 1958, a man by the name of Edward Louis Shrimp enacted a lawsuit against the Abingdon County Public Schools because they required a Bible reading at the beginning of school and recitation of the Lord's Prayer. The state tried to accommodate them, and they said, you can exempt your child from that if you want with a written note. That wasn't good enough, and it continued all the way up to the Supreme Court in 1963, when the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional and that you could not have required Bible readings or recitation of prayers in a public school setting. Since that time, it has morphed into something even worse, so that you can't have God or religion in a public school setting or in a public square. That's what people have come to believe. That is not what our founders intended. That is not what the Constitution says. And really, just think about this logically for a moment. In a country where your founding document, the Declaration of Independence, says your rights come from your Creator, also known as God, in a country whose Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God, in a country where every coin in your pocket and every bill in your wallet says, in God we trust, somehow you're not supposed to talk about God. Does that make any sense? That's schizophrenia. And doesn't that explain a lot of what's going on? And aren't you glad that yesterday the governor of Louisiana signed into the law, put the 10 Commandments back in the schools? Because after that Supreme Court decision, they started pulling down the 10 Commandments. But you know what? Next time you see somebody who wants that done, ask them this question. What exactly is wrong with thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not envy, and thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not bear false witness, and honor your parents? What's wrong with those things? They never really have an answer for that, do they? And we have to continue to press this thing very vigorously at this point, because there's something going on in our country, and it's not accidental. If you look at the congressional record from January the 10th, 1963, Congressman Herlong of Florida read into the congressional record the 45 goals of communism in America, how they want to fundamentally change us. Do you know why they need to fundamentally change us? Because the United States of America is the major obstacle to one world government. Within one. And they cannot bring us down militarily. So what do you do next? You go inside. You divide the people on the basis of race, age, income, gender, religion, political affiliation. You have them all at each other's throats. You destroy the fabric and the morality of the people. If you read those 45 goals from over 60 years ago, one of them is to gain control of the public schools and the teacher unions so you could indoctrinate the kids. Gain control of the news media and Hollywood so you can manipulate the opinions of the people. Remove God from the public square go into the churches and change the real gospel for the social gospel. Have you noticed how that's happening in a lot of churches? Instead of laying down the law of God, they got their finger in the air seeing which way the wind is blowing and conforming to that. That's not what the church is supposed to do. But some of the other goals was diminish the role of the family, drive wedges between parents and their children, making the parents seem like the bad people in this whole situation, making sexual immorality normal, natural, and healthy. All of these are things that are happening in our society, and here's the problem. It's working. And you see what's happening to us as we allow those influences to become greater in our lives. And you see people talking about my truth and your truth. Whatever happened to the truth? You know? And Jesus said it, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one cometh to the Father but by me. You know, we have to be willing to stand up for what we believe in. And particularly the evangelical and the Christian community. There's a lot of us out there, but we have to be more visible. You see, a lot of people, when a conversation starts, instead of talking about what they believe, they stand in a corner and stare at the floor because they don't want somebody to call them a nasty name or to try to cancel them. But you know, I've had a lot of people try to cancel me. I don't care about those people. I only care about God. God's not going to cancel me. I'm not worried about that. And I think back to when I was a youngster, and I had a terrible temper. And I would get so angry, I would do foolish things. I remember a fellow hit me with a pebble. It didn't hurt, but I was incensed that he would dare hit me. And I picked up a big rock and threw it at his face and broke his glasses, almost put his eye out. And a fellow was trying to close my locker at school. I didn't want to close. I struck him in the forehead with my fist. Unfortunately, still had the lock in my hand. Put a 3-inch gash in his forehead. My mother was trying to get me to wear something I didn't want to wear. Picked up a hammer, went to hit her in the head with it. And fortunately, my brother caught it from behind. Other than that, I was a pretty good kid. But you can see how that temper would get you in so much trouble. When I was 14, another teenager angered me, and I tried to stab him in the abdomen with a large camping knife. And fortunately, he had a large metal belt buckle on, and the knife blade struck it with such force that it broke, and he fled in terror. But I was more terrified than he was as I realized I was trying to kill someone. And I went into the bathroom and locked the door and started contemplating my life. Realized I would never become a doctor with a temper like that. I had turned things around academically. I'd gone from the worst student to the best student academically. But that temper was going to hamper me. And I began to pray, and there was a Bible in the bathroom, and I picked it up and started reading the book of Proverbs. And there are all these verses about anger. Like Proverbs 19:19 that says there's no point getting an angry man out of trouble, he's just going to get back into it. But encouraging verses like 16:32, mightier is the man who controls his temper than the man who can conquer a city. And then there were all these verses about fools. And it seemed like they were all written about me too. But I came to an understanding during those hours in that bathroom that the reason that I was angry all the time is because I was selfish. It was all about me, my, and I. Somebody did this to me. Somebody took my thing. I want this. And if you could step out of the center of the circle, then you wouldn't have that problem again. That was the last day that I had a problem with an angry outburst. And that's the way God works. And you know, God has everything under control, and in our lives and in our nation. And we need not worry if we will actually return to him. And in my case, what did he do? He took the knife out of the hand of an angry teenager, replaced it with a scalpel to save lives. That's what God does. Thank you very much.
That was great. That was great. So where's the crime? Listen, I have said this before. Church and state must be separated because whenever church and state unite, there's always abused. Okay, either the church abuses the state or the state abuses the church. They don't make good, bad partners. Okay, they can work together. They can live in the same house, but they cannot sleep. They cannot sleep in the same bed. And I say that to say this: as long as the state is not enforcing morality from the perspective of the first 4 commandments, right? You should have no other gods before me. You should not make unto you any graven images. You should not take the name of your Lord your God in vain. You remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. These first 4 commandments cannot be touched by us. I mean, it cannot be touched by the state. It cannot become federal. They must not become national. That is a no-no in our country. But the last 6 commandments need to be enforced. They need to be enforced and upheld if you want a safe society. If we keep killing, stealing, committing adultery, lying, and not honoring our mothers and fathers, listen, you're not going to have a country left. It's only a matter of time because lawlessness destroys everything. You can't run a business. You cannot have a country. It's bad news. But now to say, taking those 10 commandments, putting them in the school, it's a violation of church and state. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm sorry, but I don't see it. Now, mandating it for every single school, that's a problem. That's a problem. Why? Because I have an issue with mandates. I have an issue with mandates. That's personal for me. But to say what Louisiana is doing is the worst thing that ever happened in the United States, listen, man, that's not true. And I asked the question too, just like he asked, like Ben Carson asked, which part of the 10 commandments you have a problem with?
Next time you see somebody who wants that done, ask them this question. What exactly is wrong with thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not envy, and thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not bear false witness, and honor your parents? What's wrong with those things? They never really have an answer for that, do they?
Which one is a challenge to you? And that's the question that needs to be answered. Why is it that you hate the law of God so much? What is it about God's law that triggers you so much? And I need an answer. Well, they don't have an answer. Friends, God's law is good. But the problem is we are the ones who need help. Because the law of God is not the problem. We are the problem. You know, when you read what the Bible says about God's law, listen. Let me go to verse 14 for you. Let me read it to you. We know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal and sold under sin. That's the problem right here. Me, myself, and I is the problem, not God's law. So when your person is trying to, when these people are talking about God's law and the separation of church, some of it is carnal. It's a response that is coming from the flesh. They don't like anything that's spiritual. But they will take the carnal and the flesh and the sensuality, the carnality and the sexuality, they will put that all over the place. And that's okay. Double standard. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, just and good. What's wrong with something being holy? Huh? Just and good. What's the crime? There's no crime. What's the problem? I am carnal and sold under sin. Why do you hate the law of God? Because of your flesh. Because of your flesh. When you read to the Bible, the carnal mind is enmity against God. It is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. There it is. Why? because you in the flesh, you cannot please God. That's the problem. What has to happen? Well, you need to be born again. It's just what it is. You need to be born again. You need a new nature. A nature that comes from God, a nature that reflects the character of God. This is what Jesus is talking about. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again from the water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. That which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not when I say unto you, you must be born again. So the solution to loving and obeying the law of God is not striving to obey. The solution is conversion. The solution is a new birth experience. The solution is to be born after the Spirit of God. The solution is to deny the flesh, the carnal mind, is to turn away from sin. The solution is repentance. But saying that to some of these people on these mainstream media is kind of like talking to a wall. So I'm hoping this message will come to you. Much more could be said. Anyway, link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. If you enjoyed this video, share your thought and perspective with me. I want to hear from you. Comment below. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.